I know a lot of people, including myself, wanted to start a business or want to start a business because they don't want to work for anybody else. But and then they find out very, very surely that even working for yourself. We literally out here right now passing our door hangers, man. And as I was walking around, I started to think, like, is it possible? Can you really build a $250,000 business doing all the work that most people just don't want to do? Picking up people's garbage, doing nasty clean outs, pulling weeds, doing all that dirty work, literally getting dirty every single day. But the crazy thing is work like this is exactly why Double Duty has been able to grow so much. And we out here in the field doing the dirty work right now. Let's go. Like, cause we built a business, man, off one simple thing. And that was just doing the work that nobody else wanted to do. Solving the problems that nobody else wanted to solve. So while we out here walking around trying to find our next customer, man, I'm gonna chop it up with y'all a little bit about, man, how doing the dirty work can turn into a real business. See, there's one thing that I realize is that everybody wanna make money, but not everybody wanna do what it takes to go out there and get that money. Everybody wants the business, everybody wants the truck, everybody wants all the equipment. I know some people want to post the before and after pictures, you know what I mean? But somebody got to actually do the work. Somebody got to pick up that couch. Somebody got to clean up the basement. Somebody got to get on top of a roof and do the gutters. Somebody got to show up when it's 95 degrees outside and get the job done no matter what. And I think that is where the opportunity comes in at. The more times that someone says that they don't want to do something, the more valuable that it becomes when you tell them, don't worry about it, I got it, I could take care of it. And man, when we decided to start our business, man, Double Duty, we didn't sit down with no 5-year plan and have some big great business model and things like that, man. We just was looking to make some extra money. We're 2 full-time parents, and we needed some extra money. We usually have to borrow money for diapers. We usually have to borrow money for food in the house, and we didn't want to have to live that way. So we started with scrapping metal, picking up things, picking up refrigerators, delivering it to people's house, hauling items, hauling things like that. And honestly, man, that's how our business even started to grow. We were taking the opportunities that was right in front of us, man. I used to see a stove on the side of the street and not think of it as nothing. And now I look at it as income. And then eventually, man, we started realizing something, that people will pay for you to make their problems disappear. And then that became everything. So we started to try to solve people's problems rather than just try to make money. Because now I'm not looking at that pile of junk like, man, that's nasty, man, I don't want to touch that. Now every single little thing I see, I'm thinking, nah, somebody needs that gone. That isn't nasty, someone needs help. You know, same with, like, if you see an overgrown yard, or you know, you feel like somebody got backed up, you need to get in touch with the property manager to help them fix this property so it can raise the property value. You know, you start adding value to people's life, and then that's how a business can be able to sustain. That's the business that we're in. Find the problem, solve the problem, and then get paid. And look, now I'm gonna get into offering multiple services. This is really how Double Duty started to grow. And this is kind of why we even named our business Double Duty. Because instead of, you know, when they call us, they say, call us for hauling away a pile of junk. When we get there, they say, hey, do you do yard cleanups as well? And then that turns into more revenue. So I feel like in this game, in the service game, don't cap yourself out. You know, you need to be offering more than one service. I know a lot of people can crack down and be able, if you stay in a bigger city, maybe you can be focused on one lead. I mean, one source of leads, like window washing, junk removal, you know, one thing specifically. But in smaller towns, areas like, we need to make sure that we're expanding our services. Somebody calls for a junk removal, and then they say, hey, do you do yard cleanups as well? And then we knock that out, and then later we install mulch and we trim shrubs. So you're able to definitely get more revenue out of one client if you're pushing multiple services. Man, we've done small demolition jobs, and a property manager needed an apartment clean out. And then the next thing you know, man, you're not just picking up somebody's old couch anymore, or picking up scrap metal off the side of the street anymore. You building relationships and building reoccurring customers, man. You never want to let just one customer go in and out without, you know, saving their information, asking for a review. And next thing you know, you realize that you're building a business, not just no side hustle no more. And the whole thing started from you being willing to do something that someone else just didn't want to do. Man, look, and here's the funny part. I'm literally making this video while I'm passing out door hanging flyers. Like, the work doesn't stop just because the job is done. You got to keep grinding. This right here, this is a part of the business too, man. Walking, knocking on doors, even uncomfortable in the sun, passing out flyers, knocking on doors, making phone calls, running ads. All this is a part of business as well. You can't just show up when it's only work to do. I know a lot of people, including myself, wanted to start a business or want to start a business because they don't want to work for anybody else. But then they find out very, very surely that even working for yourself, man, you might work harder than you ever worked in your life. And if you're willing to build, then you'll keep going. If not, you'll go back to that comfortable 9 to 5. But the big difference, man, when you're working for somebody else and working for yourself, is that it's yours. And me personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. Take a second here, man, and think about some of the work that we've done. The junk removals, the nasty evictions, the clean outs, the brush removals, the shoveling rocks. The first job we ever did, the shoveling 10 yards of rocks with 2 wheelbarrows and 2 men. Stuff that we've dealt with, man. All the overgrown yards, all the nasty clean outs. Like, a lot of this stuff been sitting there for years and nobody wanted to deal with it. Until we showed up, we put a door hanger flyer at the door, we offered our services, and knowing that somebody needed help, you know. And that's the biggest thing, man, and that's what grew our business, is showing up to solve problems that nobody else wanted to solve. I'm not saying go out here, man, and do every single dirty job you can find. What I'm saying is become the person that people call when they have a problem. And if you can solve problems, you can make a lot of money, man. More money, more problems. It's the same way it go with business, right? The bigger your business grow, the more problems you're gonna have. The more trucks you have, the more tires you gotta buy. The more employees you have, the more problems you're going to have. So you think you wanna get to the top, you think you wanna have it all right now in your lap, but be prepared to have the bandwidth to take care of all them problems, man, because they're gonna come. But here's the part that most people get wrong. Now, just because the money is dirty work, that doesn't mean that every job is a good job you should take. We had to learn that the hard way. You can be busy, man, every single day and still not making no money. If you undercharging, if your dump fees are eating you alive, if you driving too far for these jobs, and this is a big one right here, if you got too many people working on the job, you can't bring everybody with you. You're buying materials wrong, if your equipment keeps breaking down, that seems to always be the case for us. Like, revenue don't always mean profit, and that's still something that we learning. Because as Double Duty grows, the goal isn't just to do more jobs. The goal is to do better, high quality, more paying jobs. Better customers, better pricing, better systems. Like, that's how you actually grow a business. This was the question in the beginning of the video, was can you really build a $250,000 business doing things that nobody else want to do? And my answer is yeah, I believe you can. We're building towards it right now. And you know, we've been hustling, we've been grinding, but let me make it very clear. A $250,000 business doesn't mean that we got $250,000 in our pocket. That just means that we was able to generate the revenue of $250,000. We're aiming towards that this year. $250,000 business has employee, equipment, gas, insurance, advertising, repairs, and most of all, taxes, man. You cannot forget that. But think about this. What starts as someone paying you $150 to $200 to solve a little problem can eventually turn into thousands of jobs, repeat customers, commercial clients, property managers, and eventually even bigger contracts. That's how something small starts to become something real. And probably the biggest lesson that we've learned through all of this is don't chase the money, chase the problem. Find out what people around you need help with. Find out what homeowners hate doing. Find out what do businesses around you need done. What do contractors need help with? What problems continue to happen week after week, month after month, and solve those. Can you solve that problem? And can you solve it better than the person that solved it before? Can you be faster? Can you have better communication? Because if you can, there's probably a business out there. And that's why we out here right now, driving around, about to be walking around, passing out door hanging flyers just so we can find our next customer. Because you never know when that's gonna be your big break. Because even though Double Duty has grown and it can sustain our lifestyle, we still hungry and we still figuring this shit out. We still learning, and of course, we still making mistakes. We still out here looking for our next big opportunity. Maybe one of these door hanging flyers turned into nothing. Maybe one turned into a $200 job. We just had one a few weeks ago. My wife dropped off that turned into $4,000 off of one flyer. Maybe one gets handed directly to a property manager and he gives us a call the next day. You just do not know. But we do know something. Nothing gonna happen if you sitting at home doing nothing, sitting on your ass. So yeah, I believe you can build a $250,000 business doing all the jobs that nobody wants to do. But we gonna find out, bringing y'all along for the ride. Tap in, another day, another duty.